The girl with the golden hair who was writing songs at the age of 6 but shied away from the spotlight of success. And a Norwegian-born girl who led a dramatic childhood and moved to Sweden where her talent was spotted. Both were destined for fame and became the 2 female lead singers of the most successful Swedish music group, ABBA. In this edition of The Greatest, Agnetha Frida and Annie-Frid Lyngstad take center stage. Who's the greatest? You decide. April the 5th, 1950, in the Swedish town of Jönköping. A music lover at the tender age of 6 when she wrote her first song, Två små troll, 2 little trolls. She joined a dance band and a song she wrote for them became her first single. In 1967 it shot to #1 on the charts and a star was born. ABBA expert and writer of several books on the band, Magnus. Let's start with Agnetha. Now, she had quite a successful solo career before ABBA even started, didn't she?
Yes, she did. She started recording when she was 17 years old, and she had a huge hit with her very first single, which was a song she had written herself called I Was So In Love, and it just snowballed from there.
Annie-Frid Lyngstad, better known simply as Frida, was born on November the 15th, 1945 in Norway. Unlike Agnetha, her early days were tough ones. Frida's early days were quite dramatic in her personal life, weren't they?
Yes, Frida's father was a German soldier and her mother was a Norwegian teenage girl. So she was born just after the end of World War II, and she thought her father had died for more than 3 decades. She thought he was dead, and he suddenly popped up from nowhere. And her mother died when she was just 1 or 2 years old or something, and so she grew up with her grandmother. They moved to Sweden from Norway, and they were very poor and there were lots of hardships, so she had it tough.
As a teenager, Frida also joined a dance band and in 1967 got her big break when she won a talent contest in Stockholm. Soon after that, EMI came knocking on her door. But before the ABBA days, Frida didn't have as much commercial success as her singing partner-to-be, Agnetha.
Agnetha was definitely the one who was most successful before ABBA formed. Frida was a bit unfortunate. The material was perhaps just slightly more sophisticated and her image was a little more sophisticated, and I think Agnetha was more successful because she had a more sort of direct approach. She was a more, in quotes, natural performer. She had a sort of innocence that really appealed to people at the time, and I think that was the difference.
In 1970, Agnetha and Frida, together with their fiancés Björn Ulvaeus and Benny Andersson, were part of a cabaret show together. It wasn't long before the boys asked the girls to sing with them. The ABBA story had begun, and 1974 was a very happy year for all 4 when they won the Eurovision Song Contest with Waterloo. Janne Schaffer, famous in his own right, was a guitarist on many of ABBA's hits, including Waterloo. He was a leading musician with ABBA from the very start to the very end, also playing on some of Frida and Agnetha's solo albums. Janne, you played on Agnetha's 1970 album Som jag är, As I Am, didn't you? So you worked with her from the very early days. Did you spot her potential then? Did you think that she was bound for success?
Yeah, she knows a lot about music and she plays the piano very good. And she has some certain ideas, musical ideas. She always knows what she wants.
Janne says Frida was not so involved as Agnetha in musical arrangements, but was always eager to get the best sound. Was Frida and Agnetha's makeup, hair and costume artist when they toured Russia and Australia. She told me some tales from the powder room, including a little wig trouble.
I put one of them on. I think it was Frida's. I put them on really bad. So in the middle of a dance number, it just spun away from her head and just flew over the stage. And, you know, it was their first gig in Australia, the first tour. You know, it felt like I should just take the first flight back.
If things did go wrong in the powder room, so to speak, How did they react? Would they get upset? Would they get angry? Or were they quite cool, calm and collected?
Absolutely no big deal at all.
Okay, so who of the two, Agnetha or Frida, took you the longest to get ready?
Actually, I think it was Frida. But maybe if she hears this, she tells me I'm wrong or something. But I have a memory that it is Frida. Agnetha was sort of, it'll work, it's okay, all the time.
How would you describe Agnetha?
She's a very down-to-earth person. It's very easy to relate to her, since I'm coming from a small town and she's coming from a fairly small town. A very nice and gentle person, and a bit shy, doesn't need to be in center or in focus. She ends up there anyway, but that's not her main purpose. She likes to be at home, she's like a house cat.
What about Frida? What was it like working with her, and what's she like?
Frida is the person I still see a lot, and she's quite opposite to Agnetha, because Frida likes to be in center, she likes to talk, she's very social, she can start a discussion with anyone and have a good time. Agnetha can that too, but in another way. She doesn't look for it, so to speak. And Frida she got a big temper. In that sense, she sometimes can be difficult to work with, because she can get really upset once in a while, and then 2 seconds later she's really...
Rumours, it's almost part of pop folklore, that there has been a rift between Agnetha and Frida. What have you heard as an author of From ABBA to Mamma Mia? What have you heard?
I don't think there really was a rift. I think that's something people would like to believe. There is a lot of drama in the ABBA story, but it's drama on another level. I think they were very supportive of each other. I think it was, it's lonely at the top sometimes, and they could support each other in the respect that they both knew what the other one was going through with the media attention and the attention from the fans and all the pressure with being a star. They have admitted, both of them, that they have very different temperaments and different outlooks on life, and it happened that they clashed, as friends do, as colleagues do. But there was never really a serious rift, or they never really outright hated each other, as the rumors would tell you.
Of course there was some arguing once in a while, but wherever you go, on your radio station or at my office, people fight or have arguments about something, because it's a creative business. But all in all, a lot of respect and a lot of fun times. Everyone was having a good time.
But it stopped being so fun. Both Agnetha and Frida went through divorces with their fellow singing partners and husbands, Bjorn and Benny. Guitarist Janne Schaffer describes the not-so-good times when they recorded their last 2 tracks, Under Attack and Cassandra.
I remember that it wasn't the same feeling when we recorded the last 2 tracks, actually. You could feel it in the studio that it was not that happy feeling as it was in the beginning, actually. On the last 2 tracks it was more like, let's do the job and get it finished.
82 was the end of the road for ABBA, but Agnetha and Frida kept themselves busy, reviving their solo careers. After ABBA split, the media here have often portrayed Agnetha as a Greta Garbo-style recluse. How far is that a true picture of her, Janne?
I think she wants a private life. I think she wants to stay as a normal person, a normal Swedish person. I think she doesn't feel comfortable with the attention she gets sometimes. So she wants to be just any ordinary Swedish girl or female. I think Greta Garbo was much more of a confusion. But Agnetha is a very, very nice person, very happy. She has a lot of humor, I think. Sometimes I happen to see her in a restaurant or something, and she's always very nice and always shouts, yeah, look, come and sit down for a while, and we talk about old memories.
Agnetha says she's no recluse, but admits it's not her thing to do interviews. 2004 saw the release of her first album in 17 years. As for Frida, she made a comeback in 1996 with a Swedish album. She's now mainly devoted to charity work, but from time to time does appear as a guest vocalist on other artists' records. After the group's break, ABBA's songs live on in the hugely successful musical Mamma Mia. But when it comes to going solo, Carl Magnus Palm says Agnetha and Frida have been victims of their success.
I think they both started out quite successful. They had hits in America and in Great Britain, and the albums sold, a couple of million each globally, which is quite respectful. But after that it went downhill, I think, and they were a bit unfortunate because they came out of ABBA and people had expectations of them as the singers from ABBA rather than seeing them as the individuals, Agnetha and Frida.
For you, who's the queen of ABBA, would you say?
I think there were two queens, Frida and Agnetha together, and when one of them had an off day, the other one could take over as the queen of ABBA. My favorite song, if I had to choose one, is The Winner Takes It All, which is sung by Agnetha, so that's a clue, perhaps, I guess.
The winner takes it all.
The shy one with an appealing innocence that perhaps brought her a little more fame than she bargained for, and the singer with a sophisticated sound who thrived on her pop star status. ABBA's Agnetha and Frida, who's the greatest?